Morning. So glad you're all here. You know, the topic today is God comes through the wound. And all week I have not liked that topic. And my mind kept saying, God comes through the womb. And then Lori, in her program, with my little paragraph there, she put, God comes through the wood, W-O-U-L-D. So there was some resistance to this topic this week. But the point is that a greater awareness of our spiritual connection with God comes when we've been wounded. For me personally, I have two wounded stories, not going to tell you, but one was divorce. That's usually a wound. And then, what was the other one? Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. How could I forget it? It is, it's gone. But when we feel wounded, there's some sense of frustration, confusion, brokenness. And here at this center, that's why people often walk through this door. They feel there's something I'm missing to get through this woundedness. And they find it here. Believe me, they find it here because I did. Because it reconnects us with our own soul. It reconnects us with spirit. And it's where we find inner peace. Now, we all talk about inner peace, but when you're feeling wounded, it's really hard to feel inner peace. It's just always grabbing at you. And so this is where people find it. What we found is there's 3 avenues to get there. Because what we're seeking is to feel the light of God's love. That's really what we're after. So the first point about brokenness is it's not a destination. Don't stay there. The rooms are bad. It's kind of an energy that envelops us. It kind of sucker punches us. It kind of makes us feel bad. And every time we look, boom, there it is again. We feel wounded and we don't know what to do. And so we're just humans, and it reminds us of that. We're humans, and we're not just bodies, but we have feelings. And that's where the woundedness hurts the most, in our feelings about ourselves and how we relate to others in life. So what we do with those feelings is the issue. We can either move through it, through help here at the center, through classes, through study, or we can wallow in it. Now, I'm here to tell you, wallowing is bad news because it brings more things to wallow in the mud about. And what we resist persists, and you've heard that for ages. But when we're wounded, when we keep telling ourselves the story of how wounded we are, we persist in that energy, and it's time to walk out of it. Because the science of mind teaches that there's always good happening, just like the reading that she did so beautifully. There's always good happening for our greater good, whether we like it or not. And so from God's eyes, everything's just fine. There's harmony, there's peace, everything's beautiful from God's eyes. But what we perceive sometimes as chaos isn't really true if we stand back. Because we're in the process of trusting in the universe, trusting in what happens. And that takes us from feeling broken to broken open. Well, in being broken open, there's a greater realization that comes upon us. It's like standing in a warm summer breeze. I love that. It's just like a massage of the wind. Or by sitting at the ocean and listening to the sound of the waves, there's some sense of openness that comes upon us, and we tap into that. It's a spaciousness. We realize we're part of something bigger, a lot bigger. And I know you've felt that at times. The poet Rumi says, "The wound is the place where light enters you," the light being capital L, light, which means God. Our brokenness is the place where this light of God can penetrate our emotions. That's the key. I've realized that this whole week, that's the key. And it shines our light on our strengths and our goodness. You know, one of the perfect gifts of working with a licensed practitioner here at the center is that they help you see that. They open you up to seeing the greater good that's there for you and the greater good that you are. Well, for the past 9 years, and I realized, man, 9 years, that's a long time, I've been corresponding with a man. His name is Michael Nichols, and he's in a Missouri prison for life because he committed murder. And he found my name in one of our spiritual books, a Creative Thought or Science of Mind or something, and he wrote me 9 years ago and said, I've heard about this thing called Science of Mind. Will you help me learn it? And I said, of course, I'd be happy to. And since then, he's been taking some of my classes by correspondence, and he just recently finished the Essential Ernest Holmes. And it's really wonderful because his writing has gone from brokenness, which was really morbidity, being in the prison for life. He's been there 22 years already. To a level of enlightenment that today it blows my mind. I read his letters to Paul, and we are both taken back by how he has evolved and emerged. So last week, I got a letter, and I wanted to share it with you, just part of it. Since I've been applying the Science of Mind teachings, I realized I haven't had a physical confrontation with a guard in a few years. I'm amazed at my change because there was a time when I felt offended, I would nurture my rancor in silence, and dissembling guise conceal my enmity until the opportunity presented itself for revenge. Now, this is a big guy. I have a picture if you want to see. Can you imagine being a guard with that kind of energy waiting to pounce on you every day? It's pretty amazing. But he says, now the offense doesn't register anymore like it once did. I must admit that in this realm where I dwell, life can sometimes be unbearable, with physical and mental pain, oppression, and shattered dreams. All of these things can engulf one if we allow it. But with time and effort, calmness of mind has become the gemstone of wisdom for me. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my God. I've become calm in measure that I understand myself as a thought-evolved being. And even though there are many things that happen here that I do not agree with, I cease to fuss and fume and worry, and I remain poised, steadfast, and serene. Those who are serene live a life that dwells in the ocean of truth beneath the waves, beyond the reach of the tempest, in the eternal calm. Where does he get this? Those who are serene live a life that dwells in the ocean of truth beneath the waves, beyond the reach of the tempest, in the eternal calm. Now that's a person that's been broken open. Pretty amazing. So the second step in moving through our woundedness is reconciliation with our emotional intelligence. Now that was another key to me this week. Reconciliation with our own emotional intelligence. Over the past few years, it seems like a virus has gone through our society, and so many people feel like victims, or they feel hate, or they feel like, it's not my fault, it's all your fault. They want somebody to blame. But when we blame others for our emotions, we've missed the whole point. And we'll never find an answer when we blame other people for our emotions. It's a big one. In Science of Mind, we learn how to reconcile those emotions and start living consciously. Consciously, that means being awake to what is. It's the law of cause and effect when we realize where we've been placing our energy. Because where we place our energy, we're going to experience more of it. It's no secret these days how powerful our mind is, but what seems difficult is connecting the dots between our emotional intelligence, our thinking process, and how we do life and what results from that. It seems difficult to connect those dots. But you know what? Infinite intelligence created it that way. Infinite intelligence created it that way. For several years now, I've been supporting a nonprofit organization called the Human Kindness Foundation. Doesn't that sound nice? It was started by Ram Dass in 1973, if any of you know Ram Dass, and it was the Prison Ashram Project. And it continues today through the Human Kindness Foundation. Their total focus is supporting prisoners in finding emotional freedom. That's their total focus. They do it through meditation, through spiritual practices, studying, teaching such as Siddha Yoga, books by Richard Rohr, Jack Kornfield, Louise Hay, and the Dalai Lama. In fact, the book that I just dearly love, We're All Doing Time, A Guide to Getting Free. Half of this book are letters from prisoners to the author, Bo, trying to come to grips with emotional freedom. It's a powerful book. The Dalai Lama said in his introduction that nothing's going to change in prisons unless the prisoners and the guards start being kind to one another. I mean, is that simple? But how difficult it is. Well, Bo wrote that wherever we are, in or out of prison, we're all doing hard time until we find freedom within ourselves. When we're at peace, when we're not at peace, then we're all doing time. And it's in some kind of prison, one kind of prison or another. It may be in relationships, and maybe in work, it may be in all those areas of life. But Bo writes that, prisoners have an easier time of this because they've already been stripped of everything. They have nothing else to be taken away from them. Excuses don't work anymore when you're in prison. He said, incarceration is one of the best routes to spiritual freedom. Not my choice. Not my choice. But when he tells that to prisoners, they kind of perk up. So through the Human Kindness Foundation, the prisoners learn how to express human kindness. And the bottom line is they learn that they create their life by curses or blessings, depending on how they approach it. So a letter from my friend Michael. I just returned to this prison after graduating from a 9-month data gathering program on criminal thinking. 72 prisoners were put into this program and only 3 made it through, and I was one of the 3. On the last day, a panel of victims came to meet with them. They came from what he calls the free world. They attended our graduation. We were each given an opportunity to share what our crime was and what we learned in this class. And I presented the victims with a book of quotes I'd been collecting and giving a quote every day in this class. And he put it together in a booklet and gave it to the victims. It was my way of appreciating them for taking time to come into this realm and visit with us. In my first couple days back after the course, I probably shook 100 hands and received 100 hugs. To tell you the truth, I had no idea how my presence was missed, and by so many. I've only been in this prison, they move them every few years, a couple of years, and my 9-month absence had a very profound impact on people. And the guards even seemed to notice. That's powerful reconciliation with emotional intelligence. The third step in this moving through the wounded womb, or whatever it is, Bo describes in this book that we're all connected, and he says it so clearly and so thoroughly in this book, and that we cannot escape the law of cause and effect, which he says describes to them as negative karma. Anything we think or do which creates a feeling of separateness causes negative karma, because we're going against the truth, against the natural flow of reality. And he says, working out negative karma is simply a process of undoing our own ignorance in order to get back in step with nature. And he gives an example. Let's say I seriously and intentionally made fun of somebody who's crippled. The only way I could do that is if I felt total separateness with them. At some time in my future, my karma might be that I become crippled, or that I marry someone who's crippled, or they have a child that's crippled. But it's not as punishment. It's simply to allow me to open my heart to someone in a crippled body, to allow me to undo the separateness that I created in the first place. My friend Michael, I have learned that if I continue to accept those limited thoughts that I've recycled numerous times, I would never activate greater portions of my brain. Now, every time that I have a thought that is greater than my standard thought, the greater thought offers itself as a carrier to expand my reasoning from that point forward. Every time I have a thought, I accept a thought that is greater than my standard, the greater thought offers itself as a carrier to expand my reasoning from that point forward. Isn't this an amazing realization? And it continues, knowledge has been my greatest treasure since all else has been taken from me. But with knowledge, I can create. I can build kingdoms, and I can have unlimited vistas. Knowledge encourages me to expand and to seek a broader identity. I came from the boundaries of a limited way of thinking into unlimited expanse, and I've become invigorated with simplicity. And in that simplicity, I found peace of mind and the joy of life. I don't know what else I can tell you that Michael and Bo haven't said. So it's true that God does come through a wound, but the wound is not a destination. There is a pathway through it if we decide to move through feeling wounded, to see the experience as a light of love and reconciliation and kindness. What greater thing to teach prisoners than kindness? So if this is what you're looking for, you've come to the right place. This is what we teach in our classes. This is the greatest gift Ernest Holmes gives us. And you can begin that journey today. So let's pray. In this moment, as though I continue to be overwhelmed by the spiritual evolution of Michael Nichols. I know this is possible for every person, wherever we are, whatever life has given us, and whatever we want our life to be in the future. We have the tools, we have the community, we have friendships, we have teachers, we have ministers, practitioners. We have all the support we need to move through any wound we think we have. It is an illusion because it leads to our greatness, a greater good. And as Rumi said, it's all perfect. And it's how we do unfold, how the soul unfolds in this lifetime. So I accept the message today. Cause and effect, emotional intelligence, kindness, reconciliation. I'm up for it, and I hope you are too. I accept that for you and really all the people in the greater community who will find their way here and find that level of peace and trust in the universe. So in gratitude, I am eternally grateful for this teaching, for this philosophy. And I do trust in the universe. And I trust when I don't know that there is a way to know. I seek it and find it every time. And so I let go of this prayer, just knowing all is working perfectly in God's eyes. And that's the greatest gift to know today in this world. So I release this prayer to the One, knowing it is so, and so it is.